Alright, let's continue. We got 3. Does this eligible entity have more than one owner? So basically, it's just about the number of owners. And if you think about it, it actually makes sense, right? So for example, if have more than one owner, yes, that means more than one owner, the entity can be elected to be classified as, you know what, more than one owner. That's a partnership, right? So you know what, partnership and association taxable as a corporation. Multiple people, corporation, multiple people. That's good, huh? That's good. So it all makes sense if the number of owner more than one. You know what? You can elect it as the partnership or corporation. Okay? But if it's no, that you can be elected to be classified as the corporation or disregard entity. Okay? So if you think about it, well, you can, because if just one person, one owner, and you form, say, LLC, well, that's disregard entity by default, right? But you can also elect a taxable as a corporation. Okay? So yeah, that makes sense. So you sort of get what's coming, right? So yeah, so basically 3 is about the number of owners, and then we got 4 and 5. Okay? So 4 is if an eligible entity has only one owner, provide the following information. So basically, just we can sort of treat this as a RSA sort of gathering information, right? So basically, if you got one owner, right, that's tell me more, okay? Who owns you, right? And so it's sort of like this is the person who control. While speaking of person, does not necessarily being a like human being, right? It can be any entity that hold control. Okay? Name of owner and the number of the owner. So basically, enter the name, single owner of the entity, and of course, if you sound like a person, U.S. person, we got like SSN here, right? Social Security number, or we can, for those who do not yet have the SSN, but somehow they need to dealing with the tax, we got another thing called ITIN, right? So basically, it's like individual taxpayer identification number, so ITIN. And then maybe is a entity, so that would be right, eating. So that's the employer identification number, right? Yeah, not eating, but EIN. Okay, I think EIN, not eating. Sorry about that. So SSN, ITIN, or EIN, and so there are some of the exception scenarios. So, for example, if the owner is like a foreign person, or entity without a U.S. identification number, right? You can enter none here. Okay, so because we do not have a identification number or owner. Okay, so yeah, that's the quirky part. And as for this 5, so basically it involves a concept called consolidated return. It's a little bit complex. So for example, this is the company that your 5 is, and it may be not controlled by just one owner, right? Owner is pretty easy, SSN, ITIN, EIN, something like that, right? So for this, and it may be controlled, by a multiple companies, and then we got like huge parent companies, that's a holding corporation that hold multiple companies. You hold this, and maybe this involving this, I don't know, this involving this, maybe a lot of the chain ownership, okay, and maybe just the one layer of ownership, like a really big corporation owner, something like this, right? These ownership can get pretty complex, right? You own me, I own you, something like that, okay? But let's not go crazy about that, okay? So basically, you want to go to the original level. You want to find the true parent corporation. Okay, name of the parent corporation. You want to find the who controls all. The IRS got a rule, right? So IRS got like 80% ownership rule. Okay, so basically means that the parents must own at least 80% of the voting power and 80% of the value of each of the subsidiaries. And that is a parent corporation, okay? And then they will file the consolidated return. And IRS basically asking you, well, if you're controlled by some big corporations and that corporation, file the consolidated return, I want to know that. Okay, I want to know exactly who is the parent corporation. Okay, so basically just find that parents corporation and find that EIN. Okay, not eating. Okay, is okay? I must be hungry. So SSN, ITIN, and EIN. Okay, that's the 4 and 5.